Welcome to the Yuma County regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We'll be sitting as all taxing districts, and this is the March 21st, 2022, 9 a.m. meeting. Board members can attend either in person or by telephone or remotely via electronic conferencing. I think everyone's here, so we're going to start with the call to order, which will be first thing in the item is the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Vice Chair. Supervisor Light.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, he got it. Been practicing for that. All right, the next item is called to the public, and called to the public is held for the public's benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomment@yumacounty.ac.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. And I'm sure we got one.
We do. We received one email from Leanne Bird, who is the president of the Moody Garden Club. She says that our group is committed to the education and demonstrating best garden practices for the Yuma area citizens. We want to be able to have this demonstration garden easier to find and enjoy. We are proposing the county placement of a couple street directional signs. We would recommend one to be located southbound Avenue B at 2800 South with an arrow that directs the traffic to turn left. The second would be an additional directional sign going northbound on 21st Street and 28th Street. We are open to discussion as to the best placement of the signage. We are looking forward to working with you on this project.
This is on the Moody demonstration garden, right? The one that's next to the health department. Okay, well, I mean, we can't talk much about it. I suppose you can later on report on what has been said, what has been done with the, it would go to the Public Works Department? Okay, well.
Can I make a comment? Mrs. Moody is 104 and she's still living, so yes, she's a retired school teacher.
You want to put up a sign going to her house? Or?
Yeah, really? No,
104.
just to her garden.
All right, then. We'll continue with this items when it's in the agenda. We can talk about it. This item will remain open to the public, will remain open throughout the meeting to give everyone that shows up that isn't here yet an opportunity to address the board at some other time during the whole meeting. And so we'll move on to the next item, presentations, proclamations, and appointments. And during this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations, proclamations, and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. There will be no legal action taken. There are two kinds of appointments, one that are certified or by the board or voted on by the board, and the other ones are appointments that are done by the members themselves. The ones that are done by the member themselves are normally, basically given out during this section of the meeting. Ones that require a whole board appointment normally are as an item in the agenda. So we'll continue. Are there any appointments? If there are no appointments, the first item in this presentations item is a presentation of the county line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel. Presentation.
ADA compliance. A free virtual workshop with incentives is being offered at the Health District. And the Assessor's Office prepares to move out of the 197 building on Main. These stories and more, this is your County Line. The engineering department of Yuma County started their ADA training program in 2020. The pandemic suspended these courses, but they've recently returned. ADA, or American with Disabilities Act, prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities in several areas. Many Yuma County curbs and sidewalks were not built to current ADA standards. Our engineering department implemented these training courses to go over what has to be done in order to build the sidewalks right.
One thing I stress in the training is I don't want anybody to build a curb ramp or a sidewalk that's wrong. Because as soon as it gets built wrong and it gets installed and accepted, then the county's responsible to come back and tear it out and fix it so it is correct.
A transition plan is being created to assist in getting curb and sidewalks fixed to meet standards. Several agencies, including the City of Yuma, Somerton, San Luis, as well as contractors and consultants, have participated. For more information on ADA training, visit yumacountyaz.gov. In the United States, nearly 7.7 million children are treated for injuries in emergency departments every year. But this is a problem we can fix. Kids are going to fall, crash, slip and tumble. It's all part of being a kid, and we wouldn't want it any other way. But there are little things we can all do to ensure that kids avoid the more serious injuries that can lead to disabilities and even death. That's why the Yuma County Public Health District is offering free virtual workshops to keep your kids safe at home.
So whether it's going to be following the ABCs of crib safety, drowning prevention, burns, fire safety, it's all very easy and completely preventable so kids can grow up to be their best selves.
Please register for the class by calling 928-317-4580 or heading to the Yuma County Public Health webpage. The Yuma County Assessor's Office will soon be joining the Treasurer in a temporary move to a new location. The move is part of a project to rebuild the building at 197 South Main Street. So far, only the Treasurer's has made the transition to the new site. Now the Assessor's Office has begun to prepare to relocate to the 2550 South 4th Avenue location. They have a series of moves scheduled over the next 4 weeks to allow for their furniture to be disassembled, moved and reassembled in the new location. They should be fully moved into the temporary building by the 1st of April. Once departments have vacated our 197 building, demolition will follow and construction of our new building can begin. We'll keep you updated on the progress.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. The main library wants to invite artists of all ages and skill levels to a very tiny art show that we'll be putting on soon. The first week of May, the main library will be hosting an art show featuring your art. It's going to be very tiny art as we will be providing 3x3-inch canvases for you to work on. Artists of all ages and skill levels are invited to our special art-ins on the 9th and the 23rd of April in the Children's Craft Room, and we'll provide the canvases, the paint, the paintbrushes, and anything else you need to make the artwork, which will then be displayed at the main library the first week of May. For more information on the Tiny Art Show or any of our other great programs, be sure to check out our brand new website at yumalibrary.org.
Before we head out, there are some important dates coming up that you might want to know about. Our Human Resources Department and Arizona at Work welcome you to the Yuma County's first annual job fair. The event will be held at the main library on Tuesday, April 5th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Monday, April 18th, Yuma County will hold their 2021 Employee of the Year ceremony at the Board of Supervisors meeting. Tune in to meet the county and court nominees, as well as the Safety Excellence Award nominees, and find out who the winners are for 2021. Thank you for joining us for this County Line. We'd like to know of any story ideas you may have. And if you're looking for stories we've covered in the past, log on to our website at yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. We'll see you on the next County Line.
All right. Having heard that being the only presentation in the agenda, we will move on to the consent calendar. The following items are listed under the consent agenda and will be considered as a group and acted upon with one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar 4 separate discussion and action, and we have items 1 through 12. I do have a request to pull out item 5 and item, I think it's 11. 11. So we'll be discussing those separately. Are there any other items that need to be discussed separately? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent calendar as presented,
With the exception of 5 and 11?
with the exception of 5 and 11.
I'll make that motion.
There's been a motion, a second, to approve consent calendars 1 through 11, with the exception of 1 to 12, with the exception of 5 and 11. With the exception of 5 and 11, all those in favor of this motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. I'll open item number 5. Item number 5 is for county administration, is to award the contract to Integrated Control Systems Incorporated in the amount of $163,442 for the installation of automated logic BAC net DDC temperature control systems at the Yuma County Juvenile Justice Center, and authorize the interim facilities manager director to sign the contract and issue the notice to proceed to integrate the control systems. Legal asked to be, oh, wait a minute, there's going to be an explanation, but it said legal asked that this be pulled for additional information.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ian McGahey, Deputy County Administrator and Interim Facilities Management Director. Just a little background on this. The current HVAC controls at the Juvenile Justice Center are outdated. They've passed their life expectancy. Maintenance staff has to go on eBay and other websites to try to locate parts for repairs. So this project is part of a countywide upgrade to the HVAC control systems. Public Works has already been done. Health Department's already been done. The South County Justice Court has been completed. So after this project at the Juvenile Justice Center, we'll be looking at the jail annex and the courthouse to do those facilities as well. So this was kind of a last-minute item that we added to the agenda. I received this proposal late last week, and we heard from Integrated Control Systems that they would be increasing the cost of all proposals by 7% effective April 1st. So we put it on the agenda. There is a draft contract that incorporates the proposal, and that proposal or that contract uses the standard facilities management template, and that'll be, assuming the board approves this proposal, we'll get that to the county attorney's office for their review and then move forward with the project.
Well, my legal likes to have the opportunity to review it before then, so they want the motion to include pending legal review. Once legal review is done, then we can go ahead and sign the contract before the increase in price goes up. Correct?
Yes.
So we're trying to beat a deadline, but we're trying to meet every requirement, every legal requirement. That includes legal review. Is there a motion to that effect? Or a question? Okay, well, there's
Second.
motion, a second. Anybody has any more questions? No more questions. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. You gonna stay there for 11 or 11, somebody else gonna take over? Okay, all right, well, stay there for 11. County Administration awarded the contract for tenant improvements of 102 South Main Street, former Hofstadter's building, for temporary office space for the Recorder and Election Services Department during construction of the new administration building to GCI Construction and Inspections LLC in the amount of $142,500, and authorize the construction project director to sign contract and issue notice to proceed to GCI Construction and Inspections LLC. David?
Yes, sir. Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Dave Hillen, Construction Project Director. This is the final step in providing temporary locations for our Assessor Recorder Treasurer offices out of the building at 187 South Main. And this keeps us on a very tight schedule, if you will, to get the area prepared for the Recorder and Election Services to move in and occupy the space in time for their upcoming busy season and keep the demolition of the main building on track.
And it's the same thing. Legal likes an opportunity to review it before it gets signed and approved. So this will be just a motion to approve it pending legal review.
Absolutely.
Chairman,
Yes?
do they have any idea how long it's going to take to do the renovations?
We have between 6 and 7 weeks scheduled to complete the work. We're looking at the very 1st of May to wrap up to a point where we can occupy.
Is it,
Mr. Chair.
yes? Supervisor?
Dave, the sinking floor across the street, is there, did the engineer say it was gonna be okay
I
to
know.
stay there?
Yeah, don't refer to the sinking floor.
Yeah.
Next
Mr. Chairman,
building was a little
Supervisor.
bit off the subject.
I
but
sent an
it's okay.
update to the board about the situation across the street. And it's
Don't
been
panic anyone, the
it's-
floor is not sinking in the other side. It's just the engineers have warned us that it could somehow. I mean, we get that.
Okay, it's in, I thought, I didn't see it, okay,
I'll send it again.
okay, send it again.
Okay, so notwithstanding the sinking floor next door, what you want is a motion here to approve this contract pending legal review.
And the draft contract's been completed, submitted to legal. I think they have that for.
So the motion has been made by Supervisor Porches. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Supervisor, I forgot his last name, but, Simmons, Supervisor Simmons. So it's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion, Vice Chair?
Not me.
There being no more further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Good. Anybody against it? Motion carries. All right, so we went through the consent calendar, and now we're gonna open up a regular discussion calendar, discussion and action items, and the board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. County Administration, Public Health Services, District Emergency Management, discussion and possible action regarding COVID-19 updates and activities, which we hope are very little, but to preface what you're gonna say, because I know I kind of have a hint what you're gonna say. Let me just give you, before you start, my take on it. I think people think we're done. I've seen everybody just reacting like, we woke up one day and COVID is gone and we can go back to our regular life. I don't feel that way, but I'll listen to your presentation before I make up my final decision.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Ana Gomez, Director of Public Health. So the good news is that we have some good things going for us. We have a high level of vaccination. Approximately 83% of our eligible population is vaccinated, so we're trending really good there. Our average cases are declining, our daily cases. We see them alternate. Again, they're trending down, but it's not gone. It's going to become endemic, which is something that we're going to have to learn to live with. And it's important that as we move forward, we learn the lessons of what worked and keep those in mind so that we can continue to keep those cases low and continue to move towards, the way things it's never going to be the same as a pre-pandemic world, but as close to as possible. So our cases alternate. Sometimes we have 10 cases, sometimes we have 20, but overall last week was 96. And just to give you some perspective, in January, I think our cases were peaking January 16th. And we were seeing that 46% of all tests were coming back positive. So our positivity rate was trending at 46%. Last week, which was the last week we had data available for the entire week, that positivity rate had gone down to 5% in our county. So, you could see, and then it's going to be something that we're going to continue to deal with. Moving forward, we as a county have moved from substantial transmission, community level of transmission, to medium. And we're right on the threshold. If we continue this trend, we will move to low. And so again, that means that more than likely, we anticipate that if we keep following these precautions, and again, it's about following the lessons that we've learned. It's not gone away. It's not going to go away. That optimism left a while ago, but it's okay. We've learned some lessons. The concern always will continue to be the burden on our healthcare system. We have one hospital in the past, when things have climbed and our cases have climbed, our hospitalizations have climbed equally. We work together. The state health department has been an amazing resource with our county public health preparedness program and emergency management in making sure we have staffing to help relieve those frontline workers. We have a surge line that's in place, that the state put in place, that has given us the ability to transfer patients, COVID patients, to other facilities so that, even though we've discussed this before, we have beds, we don't have the staff to man those beds. So again, it's the lessons that we've learned. Want to encourage people, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, go get your vaccine. If you have questions, again, please ask those questions, talk to your healthcare provider. We continue to offer clinics at the health department. We've seen the number of people coming in decrease. And that's good. Hopefully that means everybody that got their shot was going to get their shot. Staff continues to go to outlying locations. We continue to partner with our farm working community with our nonprofits. They were out at like 2 a.m. Our staff was out at 2 a.m. last week vaccinating agricultural workers in a partnership with Campesinos Sin Fronteras. You know, we continue to go out of East County. It's something that we will continue to do. And we're not just providing COVID vaccines, you know, flu shots, other vaccines, other preventive vaccines. So again, those are things that we will continue to see. As we continue to see trends in cases go down, hopefully, we will start seeing the scaling back probably at the state. We have an emergency declaration. I anticipate that if the trend continues to go down, that might again, you know, perhaps end. And if it does, some of the services that have been assisting us in maintaining those cases down and providing that care would be scaled down as well. So that would be that surge line that I just talked about might be scaled down or closed. Scaling back of some of those services, and you'll start to see that during the next couple of months. So again, it's important to, you know, keep mind of those lessons that we learned, that it's going to become endemic. We're going to leave with them, bless you. And that
that's a classic sign of what remains. A sign like this in the past. That's what we learned, and there's some of the positives of the whole thing is that we learned some cleaning.
We learned some good techniques, and I think we adapted some things like the, you know, increased sanitation of surfaces. You know, wearing masks again is optional at this point, but you know that you can continue to wear those in crowded locations. You know, there's a lot of things that worked that, you know, are optional that I think we should, you know, like the increased hygiene and sanitation. Yeah, that were good practices that we should continue to move forward in order to continue to keep our community safe. Those are basic sanitation standards. So again, just want to continue to encourage people to take the precautions, seek the information that they need to keep their family safe, and so that they can make the decisions that they need to do to continue to enjoy those outings, those family gatherings. We're traveling now and do it in a safe manner as they do it.
There's still a requirement to mask up on mass transit, right?
Right, that's the federal requirement. So if you're at an airport, again, there's still those requirements in place. So again, if you're traveling, make sure you check where you're going and what those requirements are. A lot of times you need a rapid test or some verification depending on your destination, but I believe that the federal guidelines still stand. So if you're traveling on an airplane, you still have to wear your mask for the duration of the plane. Right.
All right. How were the flu numbers? I mean, I know it's a, you know, it's sort of related because in my opinion, all these additional health measures that we took actually had an impact on something else, which was the flu levels that we had. And the hospital used to be sort of restricted during a time because of flu, and we had such a high number of elderly people. I'm not talking about you guys, but you know, we had a high number, you know, of elderly people who actually, you know, overwhelmed the hospital at times.
So again, those are their clinically diagnosed cases, meaning you had to go somewhere, have a flu test, and it'd be clinically diagnosed. The previous 2 years, when the pandemic, you know, first started and we were taking these precautions, we didn't see, I think we saw like 2 clinically diagnosed cases one time. But again, those are clinically diagnosed. We've seen more, but again, not to the numbers that we, you know, double digits, lower double digit numbers. So again, it's those precautions. People are staying home when they're sick. And I think it's just having a higher level of awareness has helped. So again, there's some positive habits, behaviors that we've adapted, and I think again, modification in times of high, you know, transmission levels, going back and forth. But again, I think people have the benefit now of having that information, that knowledge, and most of us have, you know, adopted some of these habits, and they're good habits to keep moving forward.
We're still doing weekly reports, right?
We are doing weekly reports again. So the average for last week was, or the total number, not the average, was 96. So again, the state is doing those. If people want to see a day by day, there's a CDC site that's linked to our webpage that updates all sorts of metrics, including hospitalizations, level of cases on a daily basis. You can also click on it and see a map of the whole United States. You click in Arizona, you click on our county, and you can see the data metrics for that day. The map itself, the graphic is not updated, is only updated weekly, but the data points are updated daily. So if somebody wants to continue to see a lot of that detailed data, you know, spread out into the specific categories, they can click on that site. And again, it's linked on our webpage.
Is the county still doing testing and vaccination?
Yes.
At the site?
So yeah, we continue to do vaccinations. Again, we had our large scale clinics. We've moved down to the immunization department instead of the big, you know, we're alternating between the auditorium. We are gearing up again. We're seeing more people come in for their children's vaccination. And so as we increase higher volumes, we just move back to the bigger space. But yes, we continue to do testing and administration. and providing rapid tests to our partner agencies that are working to provide rapid tests or other testing services to the community.
Any questions to the health director?
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank
And,
you.
you know, I know that it sounds like, you know, it should be logical to figure it out, but I mean, a lot of these improvements are because you guys haven't let up on it. And, you know, it shows because you're still doing a lot of things that most people have ceased doing or trying to do. We appreciate it. I was going to ask you one last question. This latest Omicron strain that's sort of picking up steam in Europe, and it's like 90 or something % of the cases in here. Those cases that you report, are they being, well, not, I suppose not most of them, are they, but are they being DNA sequenced?
Yes, so there's a percentage of those tests that are being sequenced. Not all tests are sequenced, but there's a percentage of them. And there's actually a link also. We have wastewater surveillance data that's being sequenced, and then tests. When you go in, you get a PCR test. A percentage of those are being sequenced so that we have an awareness of what's circulating, not only in our state, but our community. The rapid tests aren't, but the regular PCR tests are. And I will double check when I get back, and if we don't have a link on it on our website, I will talk to Kevin, and we will put that link out, and that way the community can look and they can see the changes in the prevalence of the different variants as well.
Right, well, let us know how that goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
All right, the next item in the agenda is Public Works. And as the Board of Supervisors, we will then A, accept the petitions to establish Yuma County Orange Grove Improvement District, number 2022-02. This is the proposed number, I guess, is verified for the Orange Grove Rancho Mesa Verde subdivisions as outlined on the attached map pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 48-901 for the construction of a new wastewater delivery system. Now, you know, I sort of see new. I mean, they don't have one, right? So, okay. Set a public hearing regarding the petition for April 18, 2022 at 9 a.m. and direct the superintendent of streets to meet publication requirements and mail notices of the hearing by first-class mail to all owners listed on current tax rolls. Oh, okay.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Rachel Stallworth, Yuma County Public Works. And I'm sure that many of you know for the past probably 8 years or so, we've been working with Orange Grove Rancho Mesa Verde to help the property owners in that area, first of all, to put together a water system for them, which has been established. And Somerton bought that water system and connected with new infrastructure for all of the people in that area. And now we're working more diligently on putting together a sewer project for that area, but we need to get the improvement district established. Therefore, we have to set the public hearing almost a month away, and in the hopes that that'll be formed at that time and we can move forward on getting a plan together for them. We already have a preliminary engineering review for that area, so, and that's, and I believe Diana Velosa is going to be, or maybe has already put out for a new PER on that area to get an idea of what it's going to cost for that sewer system, and obviously it has increased. So anyway, we look forward to hearing from all the people in that area at the public hearing next month. So
I hope that the message to them, and I'll try to be there, but the message to them should be that we need to find a way, a tool, a way to get them some help, and that the only way that we can get them to help them, we're not in the sewer business or water business. It's a county.
right.
So we need to have the tool to get to the point where something gets done. To me, it's very fortunate that they have the city of Somerton right next to them. And the city of Somerton, I think, probably would be willing to just sort of connect the system, because it isn't just about creating a sewer system for that area, a system. It's about where that sewage is going to get treated. So before the city of Somerton was sort of nearby or close by, to me, thinking of setting up a sewer system, an independent sewer system, was kind of a little bit too expensive if they had to pay for it. But the only way that we can get assistance, either federal or state, for that area is to have an improvement district. We need to have someone that sort of takes on the responsibility of paying for whatever the differences between the grants and the subsidies and the actual cost of the system. It's not unusual, but it's unusual that people understand that when they go out to the county,
Yeah.
they go up to a system of government that's not designed to provide water or sewer. And it's always been an issue that we can help them if they want to help themselves, but it's always tough. They look at government sometimes as the solution to a problem, when in this particular case, we can be the way to get to a solution.
That's true. Well, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, and I know that you would recall, Chairman Reyes, because you've been to evening meetings, public meetings, and we've had several of those for the people and tried to reiterate that. And the preliminary engineering review was initiated and formed it because we spoke with Somerton on that, and they are aware and they're still willing to allow us to connect to their current system. It's just a matter of, there may be some changes in the initial plan, but they're still willing to accept that connection.
Well, I think the most cities are concerned about accepting an area that doesn't have the minimum service
Right.
tools, standards, and having to actually pay for those out of the general public funds,
Right.
creating a situation where the people that already live there, end up paying for the service of someone that wants to annex. I think this is the way. It's been the way for many years. I'm just glad that I can see some light at the end of that tunnel that isn't a train coming. Hopefully, we'll get to it. Thank you very much for the effort.
And, just a comment, I think, you just said it right now, it's gonna cost a lot more now. As always, the longer it takes, the more money it's gonna cost. I think the city of Somerton has always been there to support this. And they did it because the residents from that area came to Somerton and asked if that could be done.
Right.
So, I'm glad it's moving forward. I hope it's complete before I'm not here, or, I'm still here when it's completed, but hopefully it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
We do hope to see that
The
happen.
feeling.
It's going to be a few years.
Well, I know, but I think there's opportunities there within the county with some funds. So I think we really need to look at it, and I would like to explore more options especially from the ARPA funds, if we have some left to move this forward.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, well, what do you need? You need us to accept the petitions,
Set the
set a
public
public
hearing,
hearing date,
yes.
and direct the superintendent of streets to meet publication requirements and mail notice of the hearing to all owners listed in current roles. Well, we gotta get this thing moving, guys. Who's gonna make the motion?
Go ahead, Martin. I'll move to approve as presented. I'll second it.
Right, so the motion is to do exactly what is asked for us, accept the petitions, set a public hearing for April 18, and direct the superintendent of streets to meet publication requirements and mail notices. Is there any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, and thank you. And
Thank you so much. We'll get those notices out.
Godspeed.
Thank you, Rachel.
Number 3, Human Resources, action regarding fiscal year 2022-2023 employee benefit medical plan rates. Approve option D, no overall increase to 2022-23 plan year rates for the Yuma County Employee Benefit Trust, and maintain existing contribution strategy, which is 0. Increase to employer and employee, and not implementing contribution strategy. Shift an additional 1% of dependent-only costs to employees effective July 1, 2022. I think that the item says it all, but you may want to, if you want to explain it.
Yes, good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Felicia Frausto, Human Resources Director. As you have in your packet, you had the PowerPoint presentation, which of course we have here as well for the public. What I'd like to defer to is back on February 28th, we presented from Siegel, Mark Fitch, and their actuary, presented information to you on various different options. What they did note is that you'll see in slide 13 here showing that we would need an increase of 4.3% to our premium health plan needed for us in FY 22-23, and that will then take us currently at requesting $15.5 million to keep our health plan in conjunction paying for all claims. But as you'll see, is we do have a healthy reserve. And if we were to look at the various different options that you'll see stated, there were options A through E. We added an additional option, and that was not presented to you, but that is presented to you today, showing that we would increase by 1% to the plan, which would then absorb, we would get about $149,000 from the employees, which we need an essential of $657,000. So when having a conversation with our employee health team committee, we provided them all this information. We asked the team members to go out and survey the employees, and through the survey identified for us that many of the employees would like to see option D with no rate increase for this plan year, and requesting that we would not shift that additional 1% to the employee dependent contribution side. They are fully aware that over the past several years that we have alternated, and that information was presented to you here as well in slide 21. In FY 17-18, you'll see that we had a slight increase to our plan at that time, but we were able to in 2018-19, no increase. In 19-20, we had a slight increase again. In FY 2021, no increase. And in FY 21-22, we had a slight increase. So our trust is very healthy. Gil Villegas has presented that information to you, as well as Siegel, to say that we have a healthy fund. In the event we were to close today our trust account, we would still be able to provide the coverage that we need for our incurred but not yet recorded claim for the next 6 to 9 months, and still would be able to have funds dispersed at that time. So with that, that's a recommendation as stated by Supervisor Chairman Reyes, to ask that we would recommend for the Board of Supervisors to approve option D with no overall increase to the plan for FY 2023.
I think taking a survey of employees to ask them if they would like a rate increase is a waste of time. I could have told you already the result would be no. If you don't have to, don't do it.
Actually, Chairman Reyes, I'm sorry to interrupt. It was quite amazing that we did have some employees that said we would like to have you to give us some increase because we do not want anything that's going to affect our plan. But then they saw that there's a possibility that we did have the healthy reserves. They said, so really it was kind of on the border there. We had to make the decision to say, okay, let's ask you one more time.
Okay, look, I'm a member of the benefit team, and that decision also wasn't too tough for the benefit team, but there are members in the benefit team, including myself, who think that sometimes totally delaying a small increase just makes it for a bigger one when you have to do it. There is some line of thinking like that. I think this year the decision was helped along by the high rate of inflation and the fact that employees somehow relate the health premiums increases to something they compare it to their increase in their salary, which is something weird because it's not really related directly. I mean, if we increase your salary by 3 or 4% and increase the health plan by 3 or 4%, they're not the same. The 3 or 4% increase on the health plan is much smaller, but it seems like some of the surprising things that came out of those that underwriting process is the fact that COVID didn't do as much damage as we thought it would have done to the policies in terms of expenses and people, getting in there. I still believe that there will be some lingering effects, some long COVID issues that we're going to have to deal with sometime in the near future that we haven't yet seen. And so it's with caution, optimism that I say that this may be one of the last years we'll be able to do that, keep those rates at zero. And regarding the deductible, the employee's contribution to the dependent, that's really tough because dependent coverage is really expensive. It's actually very expensive, and going up on that one is probably even bigger than going up on your. If you're an employee, you're covered anyway. And that was like Russ McLeod's thing, and fortunately I look around and I don't see him, but it's a good concept, It's just that in reality, it goes back to that mentality that employees in Yuma County have a lot of benefits that other people don't have in the private sector. When you compare it to the private sector, there's a lot more benefits when you work for the county than almost anywhere else. At the same time, their salary, it's not comparable to the private sector. The private sector has a tendency to move faster. Our increases have a tendency to be smaller. Because with 1,400 employees under your care, anytime you increase salary by 1%, you're not talking about hundreds, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So anyway, the recommendation, I guess, can be better than that. The reserves are still pretty strong, and even with this, not, bringing in any additional revenues, it will still, according to the underwriting, it will still be strong next year. But it is very, I just heard Supervisor Porcia's mention the fact that if we'd have done something in Orange Group 20 years ago, we might have been $10 million instead of 20 or whatever. And if we'd have done something on the building in the front there, 10 years ago, it would have been half of what it is now. Time is not really on our side. The fact that the health insurance premiums have been kept as low as they have been kept, it's almost miraculous, because that's not what's happening in the state, in the country, in the state in general. Premiums are going up everywhere, and it's just it's a pleasure to be able to keep a lid on that. So thank you, Mary, very much for the recommendation. Are there any more comments? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I just want to make a comment. I mean, I think you said it right, but I'm gonna on the side of when salaries go up a certain percentage, and also the insurance, I mean, it does make a difference on the paycheck, on your pocket. So, I mean, I've been through that. I'm still going through that. You see $20 of increase, and you see 15 on the insurance, so you only got $5. It only seems that you got $5 increase, per paycheck. So it's to some employees that it really, it really shows. But I, my comment to administration is, let's look at, in the future. I know we gave our word a few years ago, only 40% from the employee. And I think we really need to commit to that and stay at that value, so what are we, to start looking at the insurance is going to go up, health is going to go up, so we need to start looking at doing some savings to really putting in that money, because it's going to get to the point that employees are on dependent, or the 40% that it's there. It's only 39 right now, but it's not gonna, it'll reach 40, maybe next year or 2 years, but who knows? I just want us to look at that and keep a savings or some money for, start looking at that, because it's gonna get like the chairman said, everything goes up, so later on it's gonna be.
In other words,
paying more.
at some particular point in time, we got to stop kicking the can down the road and actually, so assume that if we don't get prepared for it, it's going to get more and more expensive. And that 1%, again, it's just sort of like we're so not confused, but we're so sort of contrarian, right? On one side, we're saying, hey, look, we got to keep some sort of an increase, even if it's a minor increase, to keep up. And then the other side, we're saying any increase we put out is going to impact, how employees see their salaries. So anyway, I think at this particular time, I just wanted to make the point that I wouldn't expect it to be this way every year. That, at some particular point, the benefit team has had discussions saying, well, if we keep doing this, one of these days we're going to end up having to increase it by a lot, and it's going to be like, well, you should have done it slowly. Minor increases are much better than one big one. But at this particular time, the reserves are really healthy. Even by taking the money out of the reserves to pay the difference in the premium, doesn't do that damage that much to that reserve. So I think we're going to be okay. At least this year, we're going to be okay. So I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and approve it.
So moved.
You want it?
D? Option D?
Yeah, option D.
Option D.
Okay, so who made the motion?
Darren.
Darren, and you seconded, Supervisor? Okay. There's been a motion, a second, to approve the item as presented. option D. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next item is
Thank you.
Thank you.
4, County Administration, discussion and possible action regarding circumstances related to Susan Thorpe's pending retirement. As County Administrator effective June 7, 2022, acknowledge Susan Thorpe's retirement announcement as County Administrator, and discuss and provide direction to staff regarding the process to be used to fill the vacancy of County Administrator. I personally think that we're better designed for when we have to go into, let's find somebody else mode from scratch than we are about someone's retirement, that it's happening slowly. And the first thing I want to begin slowly, the first thing I want to begin by saying is the reason it's really out in the public and in the open is because we don't want to leave any trace of doubt about that. This is a retirement. This is a person that has been here with us for 6 years who has decided to move on in family and attend to family and attend to the things that she would like to do. I wanted to begin by saying how appreciative I am of the 6 years you have given us, and wanted to basically affirm to the public that this is not a forced retirement. This is not a situation where we're talking about your retirement and we ask you to retire. This is a decision that you made yourself. And although you smile and you think that's kind of funny, there is that perception out in the community when you don't address it. I mean, people sometimes retire because of different reasons. I don't believe at all that you retire because there was pressure put upon you to retire. You retire because you wanted to, and I wanted to make sure that everybody out there knew that. And I personally, again, and I wish, I can talk on behalf of the rest of the board, but I'm not, doing that. I personally just want to thank you because I know I've been here a long time, and I know when you came in, things were different. I've always said that the best measure of a person's influence on a system is, did you leave it better than you found it? And I think you can go home and really, think, be proud of the fact that you're leaving the county better than you found it, and that we went through some really difficult times and that you handled it well.
Mhm.
I want to say that. Now, the process needs to begin. The replacement process needs to begin. We normally have these meetings in executive session to talk about what we're going to do. But because of the nature of this announcement and because I really can't get in touch with individual board members to ask them, I wanted to put it up in an open meeting like this so we can talk with human resources around about the process, the replacement process, which will be different in respect that most of the time when people leave, they give you 2 weeks notice and then you get the assistant, to come in and take over. That's what you prepare the vice or the assistant administrator to do. And you move on and do a national search or a state search or whatever you want to do. And then, you get the choices, you do the interviews, and then you choose someone. I've gone through that, I think maybe 4 or 5 times, But this one isn't that way. We do count with Susan staying on for as long as we need to. One of the things we don't know is how much comp time she's got accumulated, and she's going to take a couple of vacation before she leaves. Those are details that I think we can work out. But the process to choose a new administrator or the replacement administrator should begin as soon as possible. We think maybe 2 or 3 months is a long time, but it goes by really quick. And there's so many things happening in the county right now that I think we need the transition to be as smooth as possible. So that's why, even though it may seem that we're beginning early, we're not. We've got a ways to go. What is the feeling, first of all, what is the feeling of the board? Should we do a national search? Should we stick to closer? Should we open it up? What do you guys feel? How do you guys feel?
Open it up to public, publish it, statewide.
Publish the position like we normally do and have applications come in and appoint a team to review the applications, and then have the board be given some choices. I don't know. I don't think anything is required. I don't think there's a process that, guides us. I think.
Chairman, can we hear from HR?
No.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Yes, there is a process, even though that the position is contractual, that Yuma County Human Resources, it's in our PR rules, section 200. So if anyone wants to read on it, it actually talks about that you make the decision whether you want it to be public, then we ask you to define us for that, do you want it to be national? Do you want us to advertise for it locally? We will go ahead and do that for you. There is a process. We're able to review those applications after our 10 days that it's been posted. We would ask you, do you want it open continuous, so that this way you can have panel reviews of the applications. And then at some point, then you make the decision as to what individuals you'd like to do. Would you like a phone screen? After phone screening, do you want, I mean, it's a whole huge process, but we have that currently within human resources for any of our positions. And we did do that seriously in the past with this position once it was vacant before.
Okay. So do you want to mirror that process as if we were looking for someone that didn't have someone here to take, that? Is that what you were asking? Or
Yes.
that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Can you make that process available to us? I think that the board, from what I hear, I mean, want this process to be as public as possible, as open as possible, and as wide as possible. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So please give us some sort of guideline and the process and make it last, no longer than, say, 80 days or something, so we get a chance to appoint someone within, say, a couple of weeks of Susan's actual retirement, so that the transition can be as smooth as possible. Can you handle that?
Definitely can.
Okay. Is there any comments or
Yeah,
any?
just a comment. I mean, so the process, you mean that we can do it inside, we can do it outside, we can do it publicly, or what's?
So what I mean by that is that internally, if you said that you just wanted to open up internal, then we would just open it internally. But when you say public, it actually reaches out publicly, and then we can expand on that public announcement.
And
We need to go.
I do hear, the board, they're, what they want, but when, especially in an organization this big, and then to each department, when the department has the director and then has an assistant director, and they've been there for so many years, and if we do this process, to me, saying that we need a position as an assistant or a deputy assistant or director, then I think that's a waste of money. If we're opening it up, spending time and money, because it's going to cost us to do that. Okay. So we either save, at least hearing this to me is either we save. I'm not hiring any deputy administrators or assistant director to any department if we're going to follow this process every time when we have someone that is right next below that director or administrator to come in. I mean, we obviously, unless that person doesn't want it or is not doing a good job, if they're not, they shouldn't be there.
Okay,
I get it.
I get what you're saying.
But I just want to, because this is, if we continue on this road, it's just a waste of money.
Okay, well, let me just back up a little bit and tell you that the function of a deputy administrator is when there's an emergency and the administrator leaves, there's always someone that can grab the handle.
We're paying a lot of money
permanent
to do that.
position. Well, it's like saying that everybody, let's say that we have a legal defender, which is a clear one right there. So we have a legal defender. We basically appoint someone interim. We always do that. So if the administrator was leaving with 14 days notice, the interim, the deputy director is ready to take that challenge on. To put a permanent person in that position, I think that once you have a deputy director, the deputy director is in the front of the running in the pack, as far as I'm concerned. But not to open it publicly will give the impression that the second in command is always going to be the one taking over the job. And that's not necessarily always the case. Sometimes you have enough time to train someone. Sometimes that person is highly qualified to do it. Sometimes it isn't, but that's not it. Sometimes they have the knowledge, but not enough. Sometimes you want to move the process forward. Sometimes you want to bring someone from the outside that is of a different level. There's so many different things that happen in choosing an administrator. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to hear everybody. Because I do agree that bringing in and creating a deputy director position is a training process for that person to be considered first and foremost when you go through this process. And I like Ian, and I think he's done a great job. And I think that when you do is you appoint a group of people like department heads and a couple of board members to a review process, and you go through this process. I think that now, as opposed to in the past, you hired a national company to look out for now you can do a lot of this stuff on the internet. Now you can do a lot of the process internally. Now you can save $150,000 by not having someone come over and help you choose. Now you already have a choice. You know, it's evidently in front of you. But I think that it's good for that person and it's good for that county to be able to open it up so that other people can apply and we can take a look. I think it's great even for the deputy director to be a part of that process. It enhances to me the qualities that as a leader or leaderess, I was trying to find a word that define both. You can go through this process and end up stronger. I believe our deputy director is on the front of this running, and I believe he may be at the end the one we choose. And I don't believe that having a deputy director necessarily means that the deputy director, when somebody leaves, is going to take over. I believe that that gives him or her a very outstanding position, but I still think that there's a need to open it up.
Open it up.
Yeah, open it up.
Well, Mr. Chairman, do you need a motion?
Oh, yeah.
Just one more comment. I just want, I mean, whatever process it is, but if it's gonna be that same issue with, with just either administration or, I mean, we're not gonna do it within the departments, then I don't think we're doing, because I think every director within the Yuma County, it's very important.
Do we have a succession plan for the county at all? I mean, a fixed succession plan that we can approve, a transition succession plan? Because we're big enough.
Right. I'm actually going to defer that to Susan Thorpe with regards.
We do not have a formal succession plan for the organization.
See, I have one in my organization, and I think that maybe that answer to that question and that comment is to begin a formal succession plan. So every department, it's geared up for emergencies and it's geared up for long-term leadership. That I think probably should be part of our strategic planning process now that we got to a point now where we're talking about, okay, I personally find that process of appointing someone, that is second in command, somewhat easier than the other one. But every once in a while, like especially when it's, public comment type of situation where you want the public to be part of the process, it lends itself to this perception that it's a good old boy system. It's a system that's set up so that essentially the second in command takes over, no matter who he is or who she is. Now, I've been in both sides of the coin. When we chose the county engineer, the second in command was just such a logical choice, and he took the job. We had to pay him more, that kind of stuff. But I could understand he was qualified, and having a deputy director that has done a great job actually makes it easier. But again, this level positions, like the county administrator, is something that I think you need the public to participate a little on.
So Chairman Reyes, just like you just made the statement for the county engineer who was the previous deputy and who served as interim, he did go through that same process. He submitted an application. It was open to the public. He went through a screening. So there is.
That's what I mean. You have to open it.
We may not have a formal succession plan that's in writing, but I can share with you that every internal department and office, their deputies are prepared for, in the event something was to happen, that they know that their responsibilities and their roles are to act as that director or sometimes even the elected official when you have their chief deputies. And then if the position becomes available, then they know that it is most likely going to be opened up to the public so that this way they can show their talents with regards to, so it's not, as you stated, that good old boy system that you're automatically going to be put into that role. Sometimes we might have had deputy directors that weren't successful.
This is why these discussions are done in executive session, because you don't want to offend the person by actually talking about their qualifications in an open meeting. And that's why I made it clear. I like Ian, and I think that right now he's probably in the running as a top shelf guy. But we need to open it to the public. I mean, this is not one of those decisions you made in a vacuum. This is one of those decisions that everybody that is in that position should understand that when the time comes, it's going to be opened up. I hear Supervisor Portia saying next to my ear here, it could be an internal process.
Right.
And that may be the way he sees it. And I gather that we could save a lot of money and a lot of time by just simply saying, well, the administrator left, let's put in the deputy director. But this is one of those positions where I think, having an open situation, having the deputy director compete for the job, it's healthy for him and it's healthy for the organization, or her, and it's healthy for the organization. And it's a process that we should establish for everybody. If we do it internally, then it becomes a choice of 2 or 3 people that really, 3 people actually, out of a 5-people board, and it doesn't include any opinions from the department heads or any opinions from anyone else that's looking at qualifications.
From a committee, yeah.
From a committee. Yeah, I think that is sort of, I get it. That's why we do it. And that's the reason we do it. We just want, because I think people miss the point that there could be an emergency situation where somebody dies, right? And you need that replacement to be there soon, right there, right now. Or somebody leaves for a better position, then you need that. That's why you have deputy directors, I think. That's why you have people ready to take in and step in, because the emergencies in life are not, that's why they call emergencies. But when you have time, like we do here, 80 days, 80-some days, I think a process should be followed that makes people feel comfortable. People outside feel comfortable, maybe not so much inside, but people outside feel comfortable that their opinions count for something. Okay, right?
A question.
Yeah, Supervisor Frankfurt.
What kind of money are we talking about if we do it statewide, if we do it nationally?
So previously, that's where we would ask. I know previously in the past, we would have worked with a consultant, but usually in this case, if you're asking us like really what you're looking for, we can utilize those same services with absorbing the costs that we have internally. If we needed to ask for additional dollars, we would. But at this time, I believe that I understand what your needs are. That is not going to cause any impact to our current baseline of our budget within Human Resources or asking the Board of Supervisors for any additional money.
So open it up to the public, open it up. It won't cost us anything. It's just the time and the investment of, people. Well, can you get something in front of us by the next meeting, sort of like a schedule that we can follow, and then we can talk about how we do that, because I think that's pretty much what we set out to do today. We didn't set up to make a decision. We set it up so that we can listen to the options available. And the best option from where I can see right now, unless the board wants to vote differently, is to go ahead and open it up, have a process where you open it up that finishes basically 15 days or whatever time vacation that you want, the administrator wants to take. Just make sure that by the time she leaves, somebody else is on board. Okay? Preferably Ayan.
Okay.
We have a,
Just wanted to make sure,
do, Mr. Chair, Felicia, can we open it up statewide, or do we really need to open it up nationally?
So I'm going to ask several different questions with regards to through our email communication to ask you, when we're looking at open up publicly, here are different avenues that we could look at. I can open up nationally. Here's the sites that I would visit. I can open it up locally. Here's this as well. And then asking for your input, and we will go from there. Let
me more or less narrow a little bit what you just asked. When you ask to do a national search, you normally hire someone that does all these things. When you're doing it internal, there's so many different websites now that you go into and say, okay, would you send me some clients of yours that fit it? So you can do it nationally from your home, actually from here. You don't have to go out and hire someone to do it. That's what you're saying. So you see, you don't have to say it's only state or only county or only inside or anything. You have to say there's a position available. You go to 3 different monster, whatever it is, and you say, okay, or GoDaddy or something, and whatever, and you tell them, okay, we got this position. Do you have anybody available that can fill it? And then send us their resume, and you begin a process that, it's open worldwide, literally, because people can be in Europe and look at a job like this and say, that's what I want to do, and come back. So I don't think that's going to matter that much. I think whether we do it locally or nationally, I think it's just going to be a process that we keep it in front of the public all the time. Just open to the public all the time, making sure that.
I only had a question, that was it.
I know, but this is one of those situations that don't happen very often, and this one was to me an opportunity for all of us to allow a little more participation from the public and to keep it up in the open, especially because this is what I would call a good transition situation. It isn't a bad transition situation. We were forced to do something. We have an opportunity to do it openly. We have an opportunity to do it well, to do it right. And so we're going to do it right. Yeah, and I think you're in the front runner. We're going to do it right. Okay? Anything?
One question, do we need a motion?
Do we need a motion? Or was it just to get to give instructions?
As long as whomever you're directing understands your direction, I think you're good to go.
Do you understand our direction? Or what did I talk too much? Did I confuse you enough or?
And your direction,
All
and
right,
I'll
good.
have information available to you. I'll present at the next meeting
All right.
as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll meet after this meeting so you explain to me, because I'm totally. Just
Sounds
kidding.
great.
It would be a national search, international. Okay, I think that we're done with that one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're moving on to the planning and zoning agenda and, all legal discretion, full legal discretion of the property sites for all rezoning cases are available for public review at the Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. We will do reversion hearings first, which is in accordance with section 404.01. I don't ever know if that's an I or an L, but it's 7. That's one of the reasons why I said based on revised statutes. Of the Yuma County zoning ordinance, the board will conduct a hearing to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development, determine compliance with the schedule for development, or cause the property to revert to its former zoning classification in the following cases. This is a public hearing, rezoning case number 2018, in accordance with the Yuma County zoning ordinance, action to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development, determine compliance with the schedule for development, or cause the property to revert to the former rural area 5-acre minimum zoning classification, and assessor's parcel number 755-42-008 located at 1582 West County 17.5 Street, Somerton, Arizona. That seems familiar. You want to provide a short oral case, Summer?
Mr. Chairman, you just did my presentation.
Oh, I know. Do you guys want a PowerPoint?
What is staff recommend? It's a very short presentation.
No, they say, if requested. I mean, I gotta open it to the public anyway. I gotta have a public hearing, but do you want to go through that, or do you just?
I can go through the slides very
Fast?
fast.
Okay, go.
Efficient. Mr. Chairman, Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. The subject property is shown in the case map, parcel 8. Some zoning around the property, RA10 to the north and City of Yuma to the east. We have parcels 4, 7, and 10 to the west zone SR2, and to the south we have parcel 9 zone RA5. This is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant that shows the proposed split. Aerial imagery. And the applicant has not satisfied the schedule for development. They had 1 year to do it, and we have not. I've been in touch with both the agent and I believe a couple years ago with the applicant. I had received a call from the engineer inquiring about the land division process. This was like 2 years ago, and I never heard back from them. And the schedule for development was to submit a land division permit and built a road with a standard C for access. Staff is recommending that this case be reverted back to the original zoning classification of RA5.
Oh. They're never getting back to you, whomever they are?
I have, recently I've talked to the agent. The agent, I believe, was gonna get in touch with the property owner, but I believe none are present. I have not been able to get a hold of the property owner, and the agent was not sure whether the property owner.
As soon as you do it, they'll come.
Proceed with the case.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna open it to the public just to make sure we follow the procedure. This is open to the public. Is there anybody in the public that wants to make a comment? If not, I'm gonna take it back to the board for future comments. Are you looking at maybe giving them more time?
Absolutely. Pending the last couple of years and a lot of the delays in people's lives.
My problem is that anybody that wants more time, just normally just ask for it, and that's my problem. I mean, we're actually acting on behalf of the owner when the owner hasn't even asked for it. That's really my concern with this. I don't have a problem with giving people a little more time, a year or two more, but it just concerns me that the owner or the agent hasn't been able to get the owner to even say, yeah, I'd like to continue this. This is my only concern. I mean, I normally in these cases, people come up and say, I'd like a couple of more years, and we say, okay, because, we're in that business.
Sick in bed with COVID, Mr. Chairman.
COVID is over, man.
Mr. Chairman, just want to say that staff also, I made a lot of effort to get a hold of the property owner via email. Over the last couple of years, probably emailed them maybe 4 times. Never received any response.
Look, just to err on the side of caution, would you like to make a motion to give
I'll
him
make
another
a
year?
motion that we'll give him another year.
But look, we're gonna give them another year, and hopefully in this year, that person will come forth and, and I got to remind everyone that sometimes these cases used to linger for years. You guys are bringing them back, like really, I mean, this is 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're bringing them back relatively quick because we asked you to. We said, don't let it, go 5 years or 10 years and then come back and say, back in 2010, we had this case. So that's why you're bringing it to us. But Supervisor Lines, Supervisor Lines has got a point about, the last 2 or 3 years haven't been very good for most people. So we're gonna give them an extra year, and hopefully they will, with a motion, we'll give them an extra year, and they can come and have another year to deal with this. And if they need some time or they need help or something, I'm sure that we can help them with them. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make that motion to give them an extension of 1 year.
I'll second.
Right, there's been a motion and a second on rezoning case number 2018 on the reversion case to actually extend the time frame for an additional 12 months. Okay, all right, any more discussion on the item? Not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I know. I knew, the moment the attorney got up and we had it published for something, right? Is that what he's saying? 2018, okay, so it says 2015. Okay, well, corrected, it's 2018. It's case number 2018. That's everything is on the.
Right on ours.
Yeah, it's good on ours.
Mhm.
It's, yeah. All right, so there was a motion and a second. Everybody voted in favor of it. Did anybody vote did anybody say no? Okay, everybody voted in favor of it. So we move on to legislative issues. Discussion regarding legislative issues, discussion and possible action regarding state and federal legislative updates, which may include international issues, status of bills impacting Yuma County, timelines, and composition of the legislature, redistricting, and legislative strategies and priorities. How many legislatures do we have? I thought we only have one.
State and federal.
Legislature.
Damn it, but are they legislatures? Yeah, okay, well.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs Director.
Big old long one.
So after more than 70 days in session, there have been more than 1,700 bills posted. 61 have been passed, 3 have were signed, and 6 memorial resolutions passed as well. So this is the last week for bills to be heard in the opposite chambers committee, with the exception, obviously, of appropriations. It is believed that the governor may also call a special session soon to repeal and replace last year's tax cut package and address concerns with how precinct committeemen would be elected in the 2022 elections. The process outlined in Laws 2022, Chapter 3, Section 4, would have the parties appoint the PCs in the 2022 election cycle, but deem them to be elected PCs for all purposes since the new redistricting lines are not yet finalized. 2 late bills were introduced at the legislature to try and address the issue, but did not get the votes needed for an emergency clause. If a special session is called, an emergency clause is obtained, it is not obtained, even with a retroactively clause, the bill would not go into effect until 90 days after the end of the special session, which would fall after timeframes for ballots to be created. Also, as mentioned before, the governor is expected to add in the ability for the legislature to address tax cuts since the Proposition 208 lawsuit declared the measure unconstitutional. The governor may bring back last year's tax cut bill for a repeal and replace, and if that occurs, the referenda petition that would have been challenged the new income tax brackets and the flat tax trigger would no longer be on the ballot in 2022. So there is little hope for the session to last 100 days, as it was originally planned for. Moving on, HB 2675, which allows for the ability to demand to receive a jury trial in temporary custody hearing, dependency determinations, and termination hearings if a party believes their rights have been violated, was approved by the House, and it has now been assigned and waiting to be voted by the Senate's Health and Human Services and the Appropriations Committees.
HB 2602, which would restrict the Board of Supervisors' authority to establish emergency voting locations, passed the House, and this is awaiting to be heard and voted on at the Senate's Government Committee. SB 1198, which would prevent medium to large size local governments from paying for lobbying services, which would include the CSA and NACO, failed to pass the Senate with a 12 votes in favor, 17 against it, and 1 no vote. CSA is asking county supervisors to oppose SB 1048 and HB 2316. SB 1048 would repeal a county board of supervisors chairman's ability to order the closure of a business after an emergency or local emergency declaration. It is scheduled to be heard in the House Military Affairs and Public Safety Committee today. The bill is considered to be too broad and removes an important public safety tool from the toolbox. It also targets counties who are not responsible for the referenced longstanding business closures. As far as HB 2316 goes, it is considered by the CSA to be a one-size-fits-all approach to Arizona's 15 counties, mandating costly security technologies and staffing if counties would like to prohibit weapons in their buildings. State law currently states that an individual commits misconduct involving weapons by entering any public establishment or attending any public event and carrying a deadly weapon on his person after a reasonable request by the operator of the establishment or the sponsor of the event or the sponsor's agent to remove this weapon. This statute is utilized by counties who choose to implement policies restricting weapons in their public buildings, but does not preclude other counties from allowing weapons in their buildings. At present time, counties are permitted to set their own weapons policies and security measures for their buildings.
Local control.
Right.
Following up, and just to give you an update on both bills on Cesar Chavez Boulevard expansion, SB 1490 is waiting to be discussed and voted in the Transportation, Appropriations, and Rules House Committee, while HB 2651 received its first and second read in the Senate and was assigned to the Appropriations Committee, where it received a passing vote of 9 in favor and 1 against. It is now waiting for the Senate Rules Committee for review and discussion before possibly going to the Committee of the Whole and onto the floor for a third reading and final vote. It is worth mentioning that the City of San Luis is also taking other approaches, as I mentioned last time. They're going to be talking to ADOT to see if they can be included, and the project can be included into the budget. So they have other alternatives for funding the project other than the bills.
Just one comment. You know, that map is so outdated. I mean, there's like over 5,000 people live in that area now. It makes it much more urgent to find a way to get that to be a 4-lane, because that's like City San Luis is like Eastern City San Luis, and there's a Western City of San Luis.
All that land.
That area down there has got a clinic. It's got an industrial park that's large enough. It's got all that area that's next to that. All that has been developed, and the other side of the street's been developed. The city is building a regional park in there. I mean,
There's over 35,000 in there.
way old. I mean,
And Mr. Chairman, this is unfortunately the map that the City of San Luis provided to the state legislature.
Really bad. Really bad, because
They need to update the
I
map.
think that the need, of course, they're looking at making this an issue of just traffic, right? Getting out and getting into it. I mean, that $300 million expansion is going to open up a lot more traffic coming in and going out of San Luis. And they're making the point that, that's what you needed, but you actually needed to do more than that. You actually have a lot of traffic going on that both ways, and it's daily. It's not like, it happens in the afternoon when the farm worker season is on. It happens every day at some time. People are trying to get there from both ways. They're trying to get there from Old Town, and they're trying to get there from Yuma, from other places. In that area there, I'm surprised the City of San Luis is still using that map. I could easily provide them one that has many, many more you know, subdivisions in there and, you know, more.
There's a sea of houses out there.
That's right. We count them, it's over 5,000 people in that area now. Okay, all right.
And following on with the key infrastructure projects that would enhance our region's competitiveness, Yuma County staff is planning to submit an application to the U.S. Department of Transportation's Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, also known as the RAISE grant, for $18 million with a possible 10% on matching funds by April 14, 2022 to fund the full design and construction of Avenue East extension from State Route 195 to U.S. Highway 95. The project will include construction of a north-south roadway connecting the cities of Somerton and San Luis. This will result in a significant reduction of travel distances and time by mitigating the current circuitous routes through the central business districts of the two cities. The extension of Avenue E will improve the region's competitiveness by providing direct access to the San Luis II port of entry for commercial vehicles crossing billions of dollars of trade between the United States and Mexico. Moreover, it will shorten and create a more efficient route between Yuma's International Airport and the San Luis II commercial port of entry. The project would also reduce the number of miles of US 95 and SR 195 that operate at poor levels of service during peak periods. This reduction in congestion will reduce the potential for accidents and improve safety in Yuma County's transportation system. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would like to ask for, I don't know if I should ask for approval or support for the county staff to submit this application for the RAISE grant.
We'll give it directions. Go ahead and get it done and we'll sign it.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Direction.
We apply for the RAISE grant.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know if we set up the agenda so that we can take action on specific items that aren't listed specifically on the agenda, but we can give it direction to go forward. We've always done that, right?
Yeah, if they're going to seek grant authority, they can always come back with the finalized version of it.
But right now, support letter is, we can all sign it, or I can sign it individually. It's fine. You proceed and support.
Currently, there's no, Mr. Chairman, there's no need for a support letter since the county itself is the one applying. County engineers department will add an item on the upcoming meeting on the consent calendar, hopefully, that you can review more details on this project. But I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Go ahead and do it.
Okay. Because of the timing.
Now, let me ask you a question before
Sure.
you move that. By calling it an industrial corridor, is that, you're using that economic development term?
That's my economic development spin to it, yes, sir.
All right, okay.
But the official is the expansion of Avenue E. That's the official name.
I'll tell you,
Project.
the reason I'm asking is, those people, the people at the airport authority, the people at the airport authority, which I have a member that shows up every month at meetings over there, Russ Jones, have an encroachment issue always at their mind, and they're always talking about what two runways you can expand, and the two runways you can expand, you can see from the Rowley Airfield. You can see Rowley Airfield. The two runways they want to expand are the ones going north to west, and the ones going south and north to south, east to west. I mean, east to west and north to south. So that the other one is like a connecting small roadway. So if you see where that is located, the north to south is not a problem, but the east to west is going to run into a road. You know, if that's where the road's going to go, or at least on one side, they're going to have to move to the other side, which is this side of E, to actually widen that.
Chairman?
Yes.
The airport authority approves and agrees with this
Yeah,
alignment.
I know.
They do not want it on the west side.
They don't want it on the west side. Okay. Well, all right, that's fine. I mean, the city of Somerton has made their views known. I thought he was going to go on the west side, and he didn't. He went
But the
up east,
Russ
which
wants
is
it, I
fine.
know.
Yeah.
All right, got it. Okay. I wouldn't.
Briefly, Senators Kelly and Sinema secured funding for improved border security technology, Border Patrol hiring and retention, and non-governmental organizations. So they have, among the funding, there's $100 million for Border Patrol hiring and retention, $23 million for on-site mental health clinicians and resiliency efforts for CBP, over $990 million to CBP, and $239 million to ICE for border management costs. $276 million for border security technology, acquisition and deployment, $55 million for non-intrusive inspection systems to reach 100% screening and enhance CBP's effectiveness in detecting illicit goods while increasing the efficiency of the ports. Additional $10 million for other technology for ports of entry. $500,000 for feasibility study at the Deacon City Port of Entry in Nogales. $200 million for 2 permanent processing facilities near the border to help manage migrant flows. And $150 million for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program.
One question about the
Sure.
grain processing centers, and that's just in case you get to make a comment. This near the border stuff concerns me. They should be building it at the border. Why do they get in a situation where they have the processing centers away from the border requiring someone, the Border Patrol or somebody, to take them to the processing centers? Why don't they build them at the border? It's just a comment, because you end up with this problem that people are trying to cross the border. They cross the border, then they have to be transported to the processing center. My question is, why don't you just build a processing center at the border?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make sure to bring this up to both Senator Cinemas and Kelly's office.
Certainly don't want people, you know, you don't want the ICE people or, you know, Homeland Security building a processing center in Yuma, for example, because then it brings a problem right in the middle of Yuma or Somerton or San Luis. Well, San Luis maybe, but, you know, Somerton, places where you don't have any connectivity to the border that people need to be transported to the border. As you can tell, that we've got so much money going into transporting people when all they need to do is process them at the border where they're at.
Getting buses.
Yeah. Right, okay.
Lastly, $275 million to address the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services backlog by hiring additional personnel. Also on the federal level, the U.S. Senate's recently passed Sunshine Protection Act would not extend to Arizona, as it is the only state in the continental U.S. that does not observe daylight saving time.
Yeah.
The bill, which was passed Tuesday with unanimous consent, was introduced by Senator Marco Rubio. Arizona is on Mountain Standard Time, which is also Pacific Daylight Time, 3 hours behind the East Coast. And if the legislation becomes law, Arizona and California would always be on the same time.
Wouldn't that be nice, huh?
And that is my update to you, Mr. Chairman, and the board.
Are there any questions, Mr. Figueroa, on his report? One last comment and question. There's a lot of concern about security across the border. I mean, the State Department has issued some warnings. The consulate people are concerned. You're concerned. You know, I'm concerned. We're concerned. Is there any method or tools that we have to sort of assure, you know, other than issuing a letter of concern, you know, to residents of Yuma County to be careful when they cross the border, creating a situation where the perspective of, I'm sure the local government out there isn't going to appreciate us highlighting the fact that there's been like 22 murders in 2 months or something like that. But the fact is that we do have a responsibility to tell our citizens and residents here, you be careful when you go out there. Marine Corps did it when they thought their people would travel there, and obviously the State Department is doing it. Is there any need, do you guys see any need for us to even intervene or participate in that process? I try to stay away because I know the impression that we give, but it's more than an impression right now. It is.
What about our agricultural companies? Do you think, are they aware of all this stuff?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my concern is that, I mean, look, and I'll give you a prime example. When I was in Washington, D.C., and Yuma was mentioned, it was always tied into the border issue. It was never tied into lettuce. It was never tied into military. It was always tied into the border issues. And Yuma isn't even the border, where the border is. So I'm concerned that you give the impression that that's all that happens. And I'm sure that the mayor of San Luis, Yescas, is probably concerned about the impression that we give to people, to tourism, which only highlights the fact of the negative. They have a lot of positive things going on, I'm sure. So I guess my comment is going to be, look, Alejandro, get a little closer to what they're doing, about what they're doing, so that next time you report to us, you will be able to report to us, well, there's a problem right there, but this is the measures they're taking, or at least give us a sense of what they're doing to improve their security of tourism or citizens from Yuma, right? Anything else, guys? Okay, well then, thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you, Mr.
We look forward to the day you don't have to wear a mask. You know,
I do too.
Big enough to.
I do too. Thank you.
Right. So the next item,
Yet? Is your little one walking yet?
I
Crawling,
hope
good.
not. You're gonna be one of those like me, like you first you want them to walk, and then they walk and you want them to run, and then when they run, you want them to stop.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, the next item on the board is the event calendar and current events, and we will have board members and county administrators will report on events attended or to be attended on behalf of the county, may present a brief summary of current events and update the schedule. For future board of supervisors meeting as appropriate, no legal action will be taken. Supervisor Pancratz, can you start us off?
Sure. I attended the ASU local first. They had a ribbon cutting. They're offering 132 degrees. They've got their first cohort together. Arizona Western College is the very first junior college that they have ever partnered with, doing the 2+2, and Dr. Kaur said it's a great day to be a Matador and a Sun Devil. So that was a very successful, and I think ASU coming to Yuma is going to just help increase the number of people that are going to be able to be educated. So I attended a virtual meeting with Senator Sinema, with council members and supervisors concerning water. CSA, I attended the CSA Legislative Policy Committee at the PM10 meeting. The CSA Medium County Caucus, because we didn't have a executive board meeting this last week. Then the CSA Board of Directors meeting. And yeah, Saturday we did a cleanup in the Magnolia Village area. And hold on, I have to get this email I got from Mike. I hate it when it won't let me have my face on there.
Welcome to the club.
Hold on. Okay. And where are you? There it is. This is from Mike Herrera. Thank you, Josh. I wanted to take some time this morning to thank Larry Munoz for organizing the neighborhood cleanup this last weekend. This is what I want. We had a total of 32 residents who took advantage of the program. We disposed of 7 tons of household waste, 10 tires, and 6 white goods. I don't know what white goods are, but anyway. Oh, refrigerators and hot water heaters. Coolers. Okay.
Washing machines.
Water heaters.
Yeah, the overall cleanup was a success.
Right.
We had great. So anyway, and so it was fun. I got to help, and the guys that work for Public Works were amazing, and they really worked well with all the residents. So thank you very much, and good job.
Right. Supervisor Line.
Had a meeting with Julie Engel regarding the accelerators and spoke to some people in the governor's office. The application that Yuma has put together is complete. However, the state hasn't determined how to move forward accepting those accelerators. And so that was a step in the right direction. I think that we were the first one outside of the metro area where 4 of the 6 are going to be placed. We had our application ready. Had a conversation with Chief of Staff for Senator Sinema's office regarding a couple of issues here in Yuma County along the border, and some interaction with YPG and MCAS, as well as one of the constituents with property in the vicinity to one of the bases. Did the CSA meetings with Lynn, hosted several congressmen, and am preparing to receive a CODEL, an additional congressional delegation that's going to come to Yuma and look at some of the infrastructure along the wall. And I can share your comments, Tony, regarding building of a processing center as well.
Thanks. Because I always thought that didn't make any sense. Building processing centers way off.
Ranking member Combs from the U.S. House will be here. And I appreciate Susan and Library working with me to set up some meetings for their visit.
This would probably be the only time I'd say it's good to mention the fact that a lot of, we have a lot of crossings in the Yuma area.
Yes.
I mean, it's, if those $200 million are going to be used for a permanent processing facility, I hope they think, where they put it. I mean, they're building a $300 million facility in San Luis. They could add another 50 million and make it a processing center and get them off. Well, anyway, that's
Also met with Border Patrol, and they shared numbers with me that we're still at over 1,000 a day average people crossing the border into Yuma County.
I mean, there's like 10,000 a day, but you mean over, not through the legal port of entry.
Through the illegal port of entry.
All right. Okay. It's the civics.
You can see most of them walking up down 4th Avenue and hanging around the mall.
Why don't you put a processing center over there?
Those are H-2A workers.
No, let's not get into that, guys.
Oh,
Let's not get into that.
Anyway, I had a meeting with the new Welton Town manager, Rich Marsh. Seems like he's got some good ideas, and just letting him know we're there to help them, whatever they need. Got to talk to some people from the Children's Museum, which they're going to be moving next door to us over here into this vacant building, I guess. Yeah, had a Citrus City homeowners meeting, attended that. Had a meeting with Bruce Jacobson, reference to YPG issues. Hopefully, it was a good meeting. Learned a lot of stuff, history reference to that issue, and so hopefully they can work things out and get this straightened out. Attended the Welton Pioneer Days Parade. Got invited and went down and spoke to the 8th grade class at Mohawk School on their career week. But I had one day to go down there and talk to them, which was very interesting. They had a lot of good questions.
Yeah.
And also I had a community meeting in the Foothills, my monthly one over there. And that's it.
Okay, Supervisor Borges.
I attended GYDC meeting last week, and pretty much that's it.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Okay, the announcement, you probably heard the announcement because I think Alejandro touched upon the Cinema Kelly announcement of the funds coming in. There was a lot of funding that is going to the, I think, Marine Carrier Station, but there was also an announcement of a $1.5 million grant to the Multiverse project.
Mm-hmm.
There was a trip planned, or there was a trip done, not just planned, to Tucson to take a look at what they're doing over there to see if we can mirror some of that here in Yuma, or in Yuma County, as I call it. There's been a couple of consultants hired to lead us through this process. Both Jerry Cabrera and myself were appointed after they started with this process. I've made it no secret that I don't think that another physical facility, another university, either public or private, is not the idea that I pursue. I think that the fact that society's changed so much into the digital age allows us to work with AWC, to work with Northern, to work with ASU, to work with U of A, to see if we can do some sort of a clearinghouse type situation where people can get trained in specific areas through a system set up by the Multiverse process. Now, that is still ongoing. There will be a report on that, and we'll be there and see. But I just, it's good news anyway that there is some funding to proceed with that.
Well,
what?
Just a comment on that, Mr. Chair, that I just want to, on my personal opinion is, and I've told the director they hired that's leading this, let's be straight with the public. If in the future there's going to be taxes for the school, we better let them know, because I'm against it. I mean, if we be talking about the property taxes within our budget, let's be straightforward to the taxpayers. Because that's something that I'm totally against. We pay enough already for several schools, so.
Well, I made that point. I actually made that point using your name. I said, you know, that you're gonna have a tough time if you try to get another publicly financed or privately financed university in the middle of downtown Yuma because it would boost downtown Yuma. That is an idea that is not gonna fly with some of us anyway, but Jim Schuster, Jim is leaving. As a matter of fact, he's now gonna work for AWC. I think he left already or he's close to leaving. So we're gonna go through a process, the election process. It's a shame because I think we finally broke that perception that what we were looking for was another infrastructure, solid building type of situation. But anyway, that's a moving target. We also had a meeting, the Great Yuma Port Authority met last week, and we talked about the improvements needed to get that last portion of the industrial park that is in near the border there. The idea that we pursue, we meaning some of us in that board, is to be able to get that board to stop being a real estate development company and become what it should be, an authority. The fact is that the subsidies that we're helping with, the county is through the ARPA, are going to help to try to set that up so that it can continue with that. It is my particular opinion, it should continue with that, having us have to set aside fund every year to keep it going. That is the idea of the majority of that board, and I hope we can get that message across. That what we like to do is get away from that. You know, put all those land holdings into the hands of the private sector, let them do what they do best, and us get out of that situation into something that resembles more a port authority instead of like I said, a real estate division. There was a comment on DDS. The solar panels they put in there changed the way it looked so much that I didn't even recognize it when I got out of Walmart. Looked to the left and I go, "What has happened here?" Those are huge panels. I mean, that's not just a parking area. That's like a bank of solar panels. That's a big project in there. It changed the way that looked. I mean, it's almost you can't recognize it so big. But anyway, I wanted to make that comment because it's good. I had a meeting with a group of basically people who work in San Luis or live in San Luis, called the Vision Group. That's where Russ Jones is a member of, and sometimes we get the mayor, and sometimes we get the vice mayor, sometimes we get, it floats around. But the one that's been consistent is the port director, Mr. Swan, who always shows up to complain. And his latest complaint is that the project in San Luis has been reduced by $47 million. The $300 million has now become 240 or 250 something, which we still haven't been able to find out where that money went to. But it's a problem. It's a problem because it wasn't supposed to be enough already, and now it's obviously going to be less than enough. So we're going to try to find that out. And last but not least, I went by that County 19 off-road spot that is next to the road. And I know some off-roaders like that a lot, but there was a huge crowd last night. And I'm saying, okay, fine. I mean, it's fine because people like to get off like that. But I mean, even in Butterfield, whatever it's called. I mean, even there's some sort of security around there. There's someone looking at it. Even the Border Patrol is looking at it. I'm just concerned somebody getting hurt there.
It happens more than you think.
And there's no way, it's over here. It's basically near Summit. It's County 19 and up on the way. I don't have a problem. I know off-roaders like to be left alone. I mean, I get that. But if I remember correctly, there was one accident there where somebody ran into a crowd in there and, kind of hurt 4 or 5 people off a truck or something. I'm concerned that if we can ignore it, as long as we
fixing to yank you back.
What?
Just trying to keep you on the current.
Huh? It's a report.
I want you to bring up a level of discussion among the board members.
Oh, I looked at him because he's from there. He's probably there himself, so I'm not going to look at him.
I'm not an off-roader,
but he visits often. So anyway, look, I think that we ought to start paying a little bit of attention. I'm talking safety issues there. So just safety. I mean, I know how protective they are of their privacy, but it's getting to be a big crowd in there. All right.
They should have, well, never mind, I won't get to.
No, let's not get there. I just want to make sure that the county, the sheriff and everybody,
they're well aware of it.
They're aware of it. Okay, they're aware of it. So, Susan, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The budget review team has been meeting with all departments and elected officials to discuss their budget requests and understand their priorities. I met with the Bicycle Coalition.
Hold on a minute. When we had that meeting, we didn't discuss what the budget set aside was for the, you mean, since you're giving a report, what is it? What percentage of salary increases are we looking at? I mean, you're reporting.
We have not talked about salary increases in public, and we don't plan on doing that until we bring a recommended budget to you.
All right, okay, leave it alone then. It's 4%.
Great.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know you're gonna miss all this, Susan.
No, she won't.
We're trying to make you like, we're trying to make you sure that you retire, you
Okay, limit your
retire.
discussion.
I met
There's
with
no
the Bicycle
discussion.
Coalition members to talk about how to move forward with the Bicycle Master Plan and what the county can do to work with them. Met with the county managers up in Phoenix at our monthly county managers meeting, as well as my first opportunity to chair the ASIP Executive Board meeting. I made a presentation as usual to the Chamber Board talking about county issues. And last week, some staff members and I, including Rachel Stallworth and Diana Velos, met with Gail Castricone of the BNC Colonia to talk about Fifth Street, the Colonia area in general, as well as her desire to set up another neighborhood forum to really get the neighbors involved in setting some cleanup and engagement goals. So that will be coming up in April and May. That concludes my report.
That's my district too now.
Done? That's it. Anything from the attorneys? No? Okay, good. Then we've got, this is the end of it then. We've got no more items to be discussed, so that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Nancy.